a podcast of one season wonders and blunders. My name is Andrew,
My name is Emily.
and we are discussing the final episode of 1999, 1998,
97.
97, Duck Patrol. Episode 7, The Siege of Mallory Wharf. We'll also have to talk about our feelings as this is the final episode of this series. And, well, we don't know that our next show is going to be as cozy. And we know that Emily likes cozy things, but we'll find out.
I do like cozy things. I don't like
Sure.
cozy shows. Give me something I can fucking laugh or cry or give me some emotion, not just. I'd
I
rather
mean-
watch something I hate than watch something that's bland and boring.
You're just mad that there's no resolution for David Tennant and
Or for anything. There's no resolution for anything.
Sarge gets on the water. Okay, we're
Marilyn
spoiling.
doesn't have any resolution. She's still just the butt of sexist jokes. She's not on the team.
It appears that she finally is into Hero, maybe from the sort
Yeah,
of.
there's a little Again,
touchy.
there's
but
no
who knows?
resolution.
No.
Yeah.
Because there didn't need to be, because they were going to do another season, and then supposedly interest was lost by the time they got around to it. So, though, actually, wait, the riverboat thing,
Mhm.
the slow river is actually in the new Wallace and Gromit movie. So
Oh.
there you go. Okay, but that's not what we're discussing. We are discussing this fine example of British comedy, drama, and action, which begins with, well, it actually begins with a camera zooming down into the water and then zooming back up with some squealing noises, which we will find out in part 2 what that has to do with everything. But in part 1, it appears to be there to demand viewers pay some attention because it's so weird and annoying.
Right. And they do it 2 more times.
So many times. Like,
I don't remember
I
exactly.
guess
But
4.
you know why? Because while it demanded that I pay attention, didn't pay attention. I was bored. And I learned very quickly to listen to old white men, so I figured you would have a lot more to say about it.
But I don't actually remember how the show opens now. So,
Richard Wilson and Hero are on the boat. They're
yes.
they're sailing down the river, and there's ducks and there's geese, and he says something stupid and old man-ish like, "Oh, ducks and geese aren't what they used to be." And Hero's like, "What the fuck are you talking about? Ducks aren't what they used to be?" And then they drive by and some guy is screaming at him,
And
and it's revealed that it is a river funeral for a man that Prof knows, who was a criminal and part of some like big caper that back in the day, I'm using finger quotes, Prof helped to capture. And it's this famous case that apparently everybody who works on the crew knows about, but nobody knows that Prof has been involved in it. So he was surprised to find that out.
And so it is, yes, it is the funeral of Silty Moffat. So the episode or the show's played with stupid supporting character names before. This is like over the top with it. Or not, actually. I think the other episode was even stupider, but yes. So stop sending me Brexit videos, okay? Stop it. I know you think Nigel Farage is the fucking hottest thing in the world, but stop it. That picture you
Do you
have
want me
of
to show
him
you
in
who
a-
I
that
do
picture
think?
you have him in a G-string is too much.
Do you want me to show you who I do think the hottest person in the world is?
Thank you. So, oh,
It's my husband.
he's so old in that picture.
He looks very old.
He's,
It's
we
the
were
gray
talking
in his
on the
beard.
show about how great it was that he got to watch the Little Rascals in the silent era when he was a kid. But, okay, well, that's very nice. And
I
you know
decided
what?
not to sexually harass you this episode by
I
showing you
mean, it would
pictures
have
of
been nice if he
shirtless
had
men.
clothes, if he'd been clothed, if your husband had been clothed. I've seen him naked so many times. It's so uncomfortable. That being the
Oh,
decorating motif of your house
again,
is odd.
this is
That
me
being,
pitting men against each other in 2025. I'll show you a picture of my husband's huge hog just to make you
I
uncomfortable.
will tell you that sometimes spouses do not enjoy being objectified that way. Just FYI.
Oh, I'm
So,
sure my husband doesn't, but I don't care.
misandry is not real. Okay. Um, let's move on to this fine show. So, yes, they discuss the funeral. They say, Hero's like, why didn't you wave at the fucking guy you know? And he's like, I didn't know the guy. I knew the dead guy. He's in the box. Why would I wave at him? I'm an old racist. The guy who is yelling and wailing, I looked him up. He played Mean Machine in the Judge Dredd Sylvester Stallone movie,
Oh,
which is
cool.
a sign of hell, actually. So that is yet another
Cool.
sign that we are actually just in hell.
I'm fine with
Um,
that. I'm fine with hell.
guess what, Emily? Guess what? I've read Paradise Lost. Lucifer was not this cruel at all. He'd be like, nah, man, nah, that's a little far.
So much for me.
That's a little, are you kidding? Yeah, I don't think. Have you had British food and they're going to make it harder to get imports? No, I don't think we're going to do that. Okay. So, I mean, that is a good suggestion. I mean, it's like the white people want everybody else to suffer, Emily. Okay. We're not talking about that right now,
No.
despite this episode probably dropping right before MLK weekend. Okay. Instead, we're going to discuss how, yes, then we get you're at the siege of Mallory Wharf, and he's like, yes, river police. And so for the rest of the episode, Hero will, Prof will say something stupid like, oh, I farted. And Hero will be like, that's the hero of Mallory Wharf's farts. Ah,
Yeah, it's pretty
that's what police work
obnoxious.
smells like.
It's pretty
Um,
obnoxious. And the fact that we don't ever really get into detail about what he was doing there is even more obnoxious. It's like just because he was there. I mean, I was like walking down the street here the other day, and there were like four police officers just like walking down the street, probably to go get food. And I was like, how do we need more police officers if there are four guys just like hanging out, walking down the street, not doing anything all together?
Emily, they were making sure there weren't black people around, is what they were doing.
Well, they weren't doing a very good job because one of them was black. So
I will not get into that. But Jamila
yes.
Lemieux's
So
book is coming out this year, and maybe she'll talk about that. Okay.
I guess my point is that just because he was there doesn't mean he actually participated or did anything useful. He was
Well,
probably just standing around watching.
I'm sorry that Emily's immune from propaganda, but we do find out later in the episode that Sarge was also there. So we then inexplicably turn Sarge, played by.
The same guy. Doesn't matter, does it?
Have we ever said his name on the show?
I
No.
don't know.
Jeffrey Hutchins is taking his little skiff to work. We also will. So bad. But it's like so creative. It's like so cheaply bad that you're just like, at one point, we're going to learn that basically Sarge's garden skiff thing just gets you between land and shore.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought.
That's not what happens at the end of the first episode. At the end of the first episode, he's just down the fucking river on the thing. But
Oh,
that's
I
not
thought
what
he
it's
was
for. It's
heading to
just for
shore.
crossing. Anyway.
And when he first comes in, is it the first time we've seen him fully uniformed?
Yes, he's fully well, we might have seen
I
it.
actually was like, is that the same guy? I was confused. I was confused.
It was the same guy. Okay.
Yeah,
So
it was.
he gets to the office. Taz is there on the phone with his lady friend talking about how they're gonna fuck and have sandwiches at lunch. So then what the fuck is Sarge doing? Okay, and they're doing a fire inspector. It's the day of the fire inspection as well.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to spoil this for everyone. It will not surprise longtime listeners. Emily didn't watch the entire episode, so we're going to
Okay,
see
so
if
I
she.
turned it off before the end credits because I was done.
So we're going to see if she believes my recounting later on of what happens, but I'm not sure she's going to. Okay.
Watched the whole episode
You did not watch the whole
except
episode. You did not
except
watch
the
the whole.
little
It's.
dumb little tag at the end that's not very good, I assume.
We'll discuss it.
Okay.
Okay. But yes, so then why do we get the demonstration right away after that scene, I think?
Yes. So suddenly we're on the shore, and Marilyn and Darwyn are presenting to the rest of the crew this new, I don't know how it came about or why it came about, but it's the Duck Patrol on land, and it's a van full of all of the things that they would need to do rescue from the land, except they open the back door and it looks like just a bunch of junk in the back of a van. The only thing we see demonstrated is a little self-inflating motor boat thing that Prof is offended by. Like, why do I need a van? I already have a boat. What? That's not even a boat. What are you talking about? So there's one thing that's like almost funny, like everything in this. It's just things that I know are intended to be jokes, but just aren't quite funny, where Marilyn is using a bunch of acronyms to describe things. She's doing the majority of the work, like women do. And Darwyn is explaining the acronym to people. She's saying one thing, and he keeps having to explain the acronyms to people. It's almost funny. And they try to tag it when Prof, very frustrated with the whole ordeal, leaves and says his own acronym. And then they're all trying to figure it out. And then he says, what is it? What is it he even says? I forget.
It's something incredibly complicated, like
Yeah. And now
YOYOUUL, and it's like, why would I ever get in your stupid little dinghy or something? And everybody's like,
yeah,
why would I ever get in your stupid little dinghy?
yeah, something like you suck cock on Hollywood Boulevard, something like that. Um, Very funny. And I mean, it could be very funny, but it's just not in this instance. And
You need to
Prof,
stop asking everyone you meet if that. You need to stop.
Prof gets in the boat, goes back to the office, and Sarge is in the office, and they're looking out the window, watching everybody take their turn on the dinghy and talking about the old days when that wouldn't have happened. And they're talking a little bit about this. Oh, did we talk about how in that first scene with Sarge, he's also identified as somebody who was at this siege?
Yes, we did not
Okay.
talk about it, but yes, when he's talking to Taz, we get this whole long bit about how it's the fire inspection. Taz is like, Prof told me to tell you that it's the fire inspection today. And then right away, Sarge goes, I just remembered it's the fire inspection today. You better get on that.
Yeah.
And Taz is like, okay, dude. We also discussed how Sarge was at the siege of Mallory Wharf. And then we discuss how everyone thinks Sarge is afraid of water.
Right.
Which is what Prof told us in the first episode.
Right.
The reason he's afraid of water, we find out in the we also so the scene where they look out the window at the dinghy and Hero and Marilyn are driving around in it in circles.
Yeah.
Because it's so much fun. Prof does this long complainy thing about it, and Sarge is just ignoring him. Prof has to like physically turn him to look out the window, and then he's like, "Why are they in a kid's boat?" He's like, "That's not the kid's boat. That's our dinghy." He's like, "Well, this will not stand." Nigel Farge is right. Okay. So then
they kind of reminisce a little bit about the siege and about the good old days, like old men are wont to do.
And that is when, for this program from 1998, we see the difference between the British and the Americans because Sarge is like, look, fucker, I've got PTSD from the siege of Mallory Wharf. Leave me alone. To which Prof says, you whiny bitch, it's been 25 years. Get over it. Now, doesn't seem very mental health oriented, but I will point out I'm fairly sure that we did not say PTSD existed in the United States in 1998.
I think we did. I think we did. No, we did in the context of like World War One people and Vietnam vets.
I think they were still whiners at that point, Emily. I'm pretty sure they were whiners.
No. I mean, shell shock was a thing, right? Shell shock was a thing. Essentially, PTSD, and PTSD was a thing with Vietnam vets. Now, I will say that is a very stressful situation, and probably those situations are probably infinitely more stressful than some siege on a river in London. I've never heard of anything comparable to literal battle on a field
And
in
raping
London.
little kids. So, well, what are you going to do?
So, like,
did that make it in the show?
Yes, it did, because unless you say somebody's name who you shouldn't say, then it's saying it.
I was going to start making lip smacks.
You should.
Deep cut to our not sister show.
They're like brothers, not sisters.
Well, hey, is there still time to get a question in for Monday?
No, there's not.
Okay,
it's
well, next
done.
week. Next week, it'll be...
No, you better not.
Emily
this is getting
and Andrew.
cut. This is getting cut. You are not submitting a question to Thought Spiral about our show. Not going to happen, friend.
So much name dropping right there. Look at you go.
Because
Okay.
I'm cutting it, bitch. I'm cutting it.
Right.
I just called you a bitch. I apologize.
Or whatever.
Well, the good news is it's so close to your mic that it just like silences
it's because
it
of
anyway.
Zoom. Zoom cuts out loud noises.
I love it.
Yeah. Okay. Which makes us think maybe we should ask Thought Spiral. Can I ask Thought Spiral why the fuck they don't just use Zoom?
Because it's not good. I mean, it works for us, but we're not professional podcasters.
I mean, technically neither are they.
Fair enough.
We have exactly as many advertisers as they have.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway, back to this fine show. Hi everyone, we're back from wherever Emily consigned us, where we discussed behind the scenes promotional planning for 2025 and beyond. Get your Richard Wilson in a thong action figure this summer from onesiespod.com. It just happens to have a swastika etched into his forehead.
He's got a swastika tattoo on his butt.
Oh, yeah, he does. Oh, yeah. Can we get into 3D printing by then? Anyway, so I want to be in trouble for that. I want to be in trouble for making a series of shitty figurines of shitty British people. I mean, really, any dull set of the royals from throughout history would do that for you. Wow. Okay. Lots of thoughts this episode. But then I think, okay, so part one is almost over. This episode was not boring. And I will say one of the things that I think that kept it from being boring in a way, besides it being the last one, and the end credit tag being over a minute, which cuts into the main runtime, is that David Tennant has dick to do this episode.
Yeah.
Somebody was like, okay, we got the notes back. All of the little old ladies want Hero on top of them, not David Tennant. We're gonna switch it up a bit. So yes, David Tennant spends that entire scene just whining. We'll cut back to him on shore with Taz and Ollie, and they're watching Hero and Marilyn in the dinghy, having fun, touching arms and such to support one another as it goes around in circles. And David Tennant's like, oh, she's holding on to him in a high velocity situation. She wants to breed with him. Why doesn't she want to breed with me? And to which Ollie says, I told you, she wanted to breed with him, to which Taz says, "You missed your chance, buddy." And then more moon facing from David Tennant. I wonder what David Tennant I would love David Tennant to do a rundown of his shows.
Hey, everybody. That brings us to our next segment where we have David Tennant live on the podcast. Welcome, David. Oh, wait, no, we don't. Sorry. I couldn't get David Tennant. Sorry. I tried.
Matt Smith offered to come instead. You were just like, no, no thanks. Funny joke, everybody. I once got Emily a Matt Smith themed gift, and she did
Threw it
not
away.
take it with her when she moved.
I don't even remember that. I don't even remember. Sounds totally like me.
Fucking great. I was just
Sounds like me.
Well, then I watched the show and I realized why you wouldn't want that in your life. Okay. I should have gotten you Matt Smith and Alex Kingston together. Oh my God, I'm going to commission art of them fucking. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to get
Don't
you.
do that. Don't do that. That's sexually harassing an artist. Don't do that.
I'm going to do that, and I'm going to get a giant painting of it, and I'm going to give it to you, and it's going to be great. And do we have a special guest star? Is that David Tennant?
No.
Okay.
Sorry. I'm sending you something else.
I have an imagination of what it is. Okay.
I don't get my point is I don't get rid of all of the gifts you give.
Oh. Oh! I thought you were taking a picture of a person who was flipping me off at that point from his
No.
from his walker, because Emily married an old man for his money.
No, he
okay.
is at work, at his job,
Okay.
being a cool dude.
A surfer. He is a surfer. Oh, thank you so much for that. Also, honestly, there are pictures of little Tom Holland that ripped right now, and it's less disturbing than that picture's less disturbing than little Tom Holland being jacked. Especially since you know that Zendaya dresses him up like Rihanna to peg him. It's just like so much. Okay. But that's fine. I love the two of them. More power to them. Spider-Man 4. We'll watch the Spider-Man series some season. Have you ever seen a Marvel movie? You fucking haven't, have you?
I saw like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man.
Doesn't count. Well,
Okay.
now it does, but that's different continuity.
I saw the Patrick Stewart X-Men.
Same situation.
Yeah, I guess I have never seen him. I saw Iron Man, the first Iron Man. Does that count?
That does count. Is that the last
Yay!
Marvel movie you saw, too?
That's the only Marvel movie I've ever seen.
Well, you should have picked the Hulk that year. Anyway.
You know what? You know, the same reason I don't like the Steve Moffat Doctor Who is the same reason I will never watch those Marvel movies. It's like they think they're too clever by like folding in plots and like extra scenes, and like the multiverse can't do it. Like fuck all that shit. It's too complicated. Tell a good story. Have good actors. I mean, the special effects I don't even care about. Just tell good stories.
I mean, if you saw enough Warner Brothers movies, you'd care about good special effects, because Warner Brothers movies always have bad ones. And also I realized we haven't talked about the Christmas special, which we don't need
I
to.
haven't even seen it.
Sorry.
I haven't had the opportunity because someone had a baby at home for 2 weeks. Won't let me watch Doctor Who.
Stop stealing babies who don't want to watch Doctor Who. Like, what are you talking about? All right, back to this show. God. Okay, we're actually at the end of part 1, because they come to the office and they're like, "That thing's fucking awesome." And Hero's like, "I used to ride that when I was a lifeguard." And then David Tennant's like, "When I was a lifeguard, I was in the sun and I was tan and the water spritzed me and I was shiny and all the ladies wanted to fuck me." And somebody's like, "Quit whining, Darwyn." And Hero's like, "No, actually, that's what it was like."
Yeah.
And that's David Tennant's last bit in this episode. He's done.
And before the end credits.
Well, okay. Wow.
He teams up with Taz.
Yeah, but he doesn't get
They have
he
a good
doesn't have a
laugh.
solo spotlight anymore.
No.
And basically what we have here as the show ends is Marilyn apparently going to the Hero camp for sure.
Yeah, somebody tries to make her feel uncomfortable. Surprise. About
It's Ollie.
him.
It's
Yeah.
Ollie.
Because he's doing that the whole time. What a
The whole
fucker.
everything he said.
Every
There will be a
chance he gets.
lengthy women drivers bit in this episode,
Yeah.
multiple times.
Every chance he gets, he's shitting on Marilyn for being a woman. It's the worst. He's the worst. But I think he says something like, "Oh, nobody would want to see Hero as a lifeguard, right, Marilyn?" And then she walks away, and she kind of gives a sideway glance, and she's like, "Yeah, nobody." Like, gross. I don't
So
like that Marilyn has fallen victim to all of this bullshit that these guys have been pumping out. I don't like it. She's
I
sort of
mean,
like fitting what their expectations are as horrible men,
a cab. What are you gonna do? But
including Marilyn.
for the yes, actually, for it actually is a really shitty part, and even given the shows that we watch, this is one of the shitty. Well, I don't know, man. Like dweebs haunts me. Like I sit around and I'll just be sitting somewhere and thinking, "Oh, you thought you were safe around them," and I'm like, "Jesus Christ, that's fucking dark, man. That's fucking dark." That wouldn't be a problem in this because they don't want a woman there because they want to sit around and eat and not do their job all day.
Yeah.
Okay. So Sarge comes out, or Prof comes out and says, like, "I'm going back out on a fucking boat because that's what we do here. We are water commandos." And then they're like, "You just went out." And he's like, "I don't care. I'm going out again. You're off, Taz." And Taz is like, "But I need to go fuck my lady and get my sandwiches." And he's like, "No, no lady fucking and no sandwiches for you, bro."
Because I've got a new partner. Da 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 da. It's Sarge.
It's Sarge. We then get everybody in awe as they get Sarge on the boat, which requires Richard Wilson to like reassure him as they go. We see this in long shot, so we don't get like the two of them talking
Yeah.
about it because we're laughing at Sarge's PTSD because he's had it for 25 years, and that's bitchy, and that's exactly what the non-Brexiters want you to do. That's back when Britain was great again. You got Sarge over his PTSD by telling him not to be a bitch. This episode could only be better with the two of them hooking up with like some 19-year-olds on the beach. That would be fucking perfect. Okay, so then that's the end of part one. Part two is that I'm sorry, we also are forgetting that we're intercutting with the camera zooming into the water as it goes,
Oh yeah.
which Emily didn't hear because of Zoom.
Yeah.
And neither did the listeners.
Nope.
A bummer.
It's going wee woo wee woo.
It's
Is that better?
yes, so stupid. It's
Yeah. It's
so
very stupid. And the first time I saw one of those weird shots, I was like, is this supposed to be a flashback to the
to the
siege of
siege of
Mallory,
Mallory
whatever?
Wharf. No, it's a bungee jumper who is trapped because the rescue boat isn't starting. And the rescue boat, so now some things that we don't actually ever discuss.
Yeah.
Number one, we don't discuss what the need of the rescue boat is.
I can venture a guess. It's
Okay.
because it's on a crane
Yes.
and they can just maneuver the boat to under the person, release the person into the boat, and then drive to shore rather than moving a giant crane and like lowering the person onto the ground.
But the person is still going to drop whatever amount of distance to the water level, correct?
Right.
That dude was
But you can leave the
15
crane,
feet over the water.
but you can, lower the thing without then also having to like move it.
Why didn't they lower the thing and dude could get off and swim 10 feet to shore?
Maybe he's afraid of water. Maybe he was also at the siege of Mallory Wharf and has PTSD. Andrew, make room for compassion in 2025.
Alternately? No. Okay. So, yes, but they don't I mean, maybe, right? Because he does get off on the boat when he
Yeah.
gets rescued, except the boat is tall because it's a boat. And so, like, he could get on the deck, so it makes more sense. It's also like he's stuck there for an hour. So,
Yeah.
like, he's been stuck there the whole episode, and now he's going to be stuck there some more. But we're going to have some action here. Now, they call the cops, who call Water Command, who gets the call and is like, well, let's give it to let's give it to the old fuddy duddies. And they're like, oh, that'd be so funny to watch them fuck this up. Oh, I didn't finish with my observations about this. The crane's not on Mallory Wharf.
No.
That would actually tie in some ways. Okay. Um, so
We get
then,
Prof and Sarge chit-chatting in the boat,
mhm.
reminiscing.
Oh, all the
And then
vomit
we get them,
stuff.
and he's vomiting. He's got motion sickness, maybe. Maybe it's part of the PTSD. Maybe it's a little bit of both. That they don't really go into any explanation except that I think could have been a better joke, even though it's maybe misogynist. When they get off the boat and they stop at the locks where Taz's lady friend is sulking because Taz is not there and she can't get her fix of man meat. He's throwing up over the boat and she's like, "What's wrong with him?" And Sard, or excuse me, Prof says maybe he's unsettled because you rushed up to him and grabbed him on the tush before
Well,
realizing it wasn't Taz.
yes.
And it could have been funnier, except this is a cozy show, if he had been like, he thinks you're disgusting because you're cheating on your husband with one of our police officers and you're a horny, randy woman, and that is not allowed in 1997 or whatever.
Okay, so not to disagree.
Oh, don't disagree with women. Believe women. Disagree.
He's
Go
not
ahead.
sick at that point. He was sick before because Sarge tells him a gross ass story that makes him puke. He's got
He's
his head
leaning
over
over
the
the
boat.
boat,
He's
puking
leaning
still,
over.
though.
He's not still puking. He just doesn't feel
Oh,
well and he's upset. And he doesn't want any sandwiches because Sarge is eating the fuck, or Prof's eating the fuck sandwiches. And he's just like, why are these little fuck sandwiches cut into hearts? And she's like, because they're not for you. But then he's like, you snuck up behind him, and he's like sulking because of that. Yes, he's still seasick, but he's done puking. And the
okay.
puking was because of the gross ass story that Sarge told him, which was like about maggots or something. I blocked it from my memory, but it was really fucking foul. For a cozy show. Um, though that's the type of thing that you're supposed to man up about. That's what the kids don't understand is that you need to man up about. Okay. I feel like I'm just seething again. We need to how are we gonna get through this? We're gonna have to watch something.
I've got the perfect solution. It's a comedy. It happens 20 years before this, written by Buck Henry. Perfect solution.
Okay.
We'll come out of this.
We'll come out of this. Okay. So we'll get away from the British and go back to the Americans. But I think everybody's dead because wasn't everybody was dead before we could have found out who they were? Maybe,
I think
hopefully,
so.
fingers crossed. Nice. That's how it should be, folks. Um, so then Ollie, Hero, and Marilyn are going to take the rapid response thing. And now, so this is actually the first time that Hero's not been. I mean, Hero's being played as a jackass, but he's not being played as like a dummy jackass in the same way. Like he has clicked with this new response unit thing. He
Yeah.
is super like clearly he should have been the co facilitator of the training, not Darwyn,
Yes.
who has been removed to just moping in the background and mooning at everyone at this point. So they're going to take the rapid response vehicle. This is where we get Ollie talking about how Marilyn can't drive the van. They take Sarge's garden skiff to the other side of the river, which is
Hmm.
where I was like, that's all it's for? Like, we've never established that. That, however, could just be the terrible direction, which we are going to see more of as they drive to the incident. They did not call it in to Sarge and Prof, who just happen across it after they're back on the water. We do not get like a great rescue sequence. We do not get any action over that. Instead, what we get is some like gentle banter between Prof and Sarge about like how Sarge is back at, he's getting his sea legs back, and we're going to show those young kids. Instead, on land, we are focused on the police officer's inability to find the emergency. There's some comedic bits where they ask a passerby who's like, ask a fucking cop.
That was almost funny.
Almost funny. Remember in the
Then there's
90s?
the shotgun thing. There's the shotgun thing.
Yeah,
Remember when
so
it's like, in response to this joke that's probably been made to them 100 times, Ollie pretends to cock a shotgun and point it at the civilian.
yeah, they're fucking cops, man. I was just going to say that if this were an American show, the joke would be that they get out of the van and beat the shit out of the guy. Because I just remembered that's how media responded to the Rodney King beating is they turned it into a joke that cops beat up people. That's how we handled that in popular culture for God knows how long, actually. I have no idea when that would have stopped.
Yeah.
Okay, so then Hero starts making fun of them for not being able to find it, to which Ollie also cocks the shotgun and points it at him. We've seen 6 episodes of this show. We have never seen Ollie presented in any way as competent. And he's always been a little bit, through some fat phobia, the butt of the joke to some degree. No longer, though. Now he's the alpha because Hero.
I'll teach you to make fun of me for my weight. I'll pretend to shoot
Hero's like
Hero for making another joke
that
they've all heard 100 times.
Yeah.
That'll teach you.
Hero's like not the alpha because he's a lifeguard or was. And obviously it's a very weird like restructuring. Like season 2 was going to be fucking weird, man. It was going to be like Hero and what's her face like trying to be actual cops and everybody else getting in their way, and probably Darwyn teaming up with Ollie so it could be like a Stan and Laurel thing, or Stan
and they can just tear Marilyn down more and more and more every episode because he rejected her she rejected him even though he didn't actually ever make a move, and but she deserves it because she's a woman. Any perceived slight is a threat, and so she needs to be punished. We all know this.
It's probably going to be federal law before the end of the year, so let's just, get ready.
Wait, I cannot wait.
It's going to be great. We're gonna get rid of we're gonna get rid of women being able to sue men. Actually, is what's going to happen this year with that one thing. Okay, so they can't find their way there. They finally do. They've broken the dinghy. The guy from before that they would have beaten up in the American version is there. And he's like, ha, there's the river, you dumb fucks.
And at which point they could have just easily pummeled him. But
yes, they don't, though, because they
don't, because it's cozy.
And they do that in real life, but not on their TV shows. So then Sarge and Prof have already saved the guy.
Yeah.
We then have the boat. I was so hoping that Sarge and Prof were just going to drive away instead of going over to see them, and we weren't going to have to deal with the team. But instead, Sarge and Prof whip the boat around. For some reason, some fucking advisor was like, fuck those dinghies. And they show the rescue boat for the bungee jump still not working. Like
still not working, yeah.
We get another emphasis. Fuck those dinghies. You need a boat. Some just old guy at the BBC. His office is just full of boat models. He's making his whole life. And he's just like, fuck those dinghies. I just watched this show. Or ITV. Oh, God, ITV. Oh, man. It would have been an old British capitalist. Ugh, gross. Okay. Even fucking worse. Um, and so Prof's like, haha, we told you young kids you sucked, and look at your little dinghy. It doesn't sink.
No,
At some point they're like, well, you can't sink it. We're not gonna actually pay to replace that from the rental house.
no.
Um, and then the whole time there have been two people sitting on the park bench with umbrellas, and at the end they twirl their umbrellas down, and it's Taz and Darwyn, and they were like, "We had to be here to see what was going to happen." Haha. To which Ollie and the normies say, "Well, how'd you get here so fast?" And they're like, "Haha, we walked, you
We
dumb fucks."
walked. Again, just listen to the old guys and everything will be fine. Old
So
timers know you need real boats and you just need to walk. You don't need a
they
pesky car, except if you are a police officer who focuses on crime, land crime.
and did you see there was some fucking the British released some statistic. They're like an alarming number of women have been killed by their partners this year in the UK. 80 in the year 2024. I'm like, what is that? Like a week in the US? Is that even like, is that every 2 days in the US? Also, did you see 2024 best year for cops killing people? Three and a half a day. Because
Wow.
all that fund the blue that Biden did, gave him a bunch of guns to kill people. Whew.
Everybody's awful. Nobody's your hero. Nobody is a hero.
Okay, so then Sarge and Prof motor away, and Prof gives the little "fuck you" British wave to the youngins. But then he gets getting covered in ashes from. Did you already fucking turn it off at this point? You have
Yeah.
got to be kidding me. You didn't just miss the end tag, you missed the protracted tag or the protracted last scene where they go past Slinky Moffat's funeral boat again. And now the sun is throwing ashes into the water while wailing, and they're all blowing onto Prof. Now, the boats are 5 feet apart, which means the guy should have seen that he was throwing them on Prof, but it's unrelated. But then I believe we get the people on shore laughing at Prof as he's getting or no, they're not. Hero's like, and there go the heroes of Mallory War. And Ollie's like, not Marilyn, she couldn't be there because she's a fucking lady.
What would have been funny is if Richard Wilson had assisted in dumping those ashes into the lake or the river by stripping off all of his clothes and diving in and cleaning himself off.
Yes.
I use finger quotes there, folks. And Andrew screwed up his face, but it's only because I don't know how clean that river is.
Yeah. But that is our action figure, folks. Richard Wilson in the G string with the swastika on his ass. Okay, so then it's end credits.
Yes.
The boat just
Okay.
continues down the river while um
Is it one of those voiceover ones?
no.
Oh, okay.
I think it's just music. It might be a voiceover one. I don't remember. Then we get the tag.
Okay.
My God. Stan, the guy who gets injured, who this episode started off screen, the reason he's not at work yet, Taz has told Sarge, is because he dropped his car on his foot and he had to go to the ER. Stan comes in, hobbling along, and he sees the fire extinguishers and he's confused about what those are. We also forgot after Sarge, at the beginning of part one, Taz is like fucking around with the mounts on the wall for the fire extinguishers, and he like doesn't screw one in. We see him like check it, put it back, and then tap it in place without screwing it in. Now they have a big fire inspection this day. We never come back to what Taz was thinking for that, like if he thought that that was good enough, but it appears he could have been playing a prank. And the very bad director of this episode didn't read the script right or something, because we did not set this up as a prank. We set it up as incompetence.
Mm.
So Stan puts down his crutches and hops over with the fire extinguisher to hang it on the wall. It falls, hitting his injured foot. He begins wailing. The fire extinguisher starts going off while he is cradling it between his thighs. So it appears he is spraying white stuff all over the office,
You are
screaming,
making this up.
screaming, Prof, Prof, I can't make it stop, Prof. The fire inspectors come in. He then sprays them,
You
covering
are
them
making
in
this
the
up.
white stuff. I, audience, cannot tell if Emily thinks I'm making it up or if she's playing into the earlier bit. That's
No,
how
you are. I believe so much that you are making this up that I'm tempted to cut this.
it's actually what happens. They don't completely lean into the inexplicable ejaculation joke. Instead, they turn and you see that he's holding the thing, obviously, because that's what he's doing. It's not like they're Paul W.S. Anderson here, right? They don't understand subtlety in filmmaking. That's a reference to the first Resident Evil, which has this amazing windy scene that turns out to be attack helicopters, but for a while, it's like an amazing ghost story windy scene. It's the most like I assume I don't know. It's impressive given that it's Paul W.S. Anderson. Anyway, but yes, so that is how this actually ends, Emily, and you can go
I
watch
don't
it.
believe you. I don't believe you.
And since I know you will never watch it,
I will
perhaps
never watch
in addition to the painting of Matt Smith and Alex Kingston fucking
it. Do
for
not want. Do not
9,000 years or whatever that
want.
plot
Ugh.
point was, um, just his limbs wrapped around her. Oh, fucking, he probably looks like a fucking a bug, like with like crap. You're not looking at the arm thing I'm doing here
I'm
because
not looking at the arm thing because I'm trying to look at my phone to erase any images of him fucking anybody or being nude in any way, even though I think I have seen him nude in that thing where he played Chris Isherwood. Remember they did like a TV movie about Christopher Isherwood's life?
oddly enough, since watching Matt Smith act in Doctor Who, I've had zero interest in seeing him act in anything else.
Hey, it's like if you had just believed me in the first place, you never would have watched it. Believe women. Believe this woman, because I'm right.
You
Matt
watched
Smith.
all those fucking episodes too, though.
I did, and I hated every second of it, but I like Doctor Who. And it informs future stories
It
and it
does inform
references
future
earlier
stories.
stories. So
And you've
I
never seen anyone with less sexual chemistry than Alex Kingston and Matt Smith. It's
Alex Kingston and David Tennant, great chemistry. But this show about Doctor Who, why are we talking about Doctor Who?
because okay, so the rest of the bit is I'm gonna have stills printed up of the last scene and assembled into a giant poster, and I'm going to send it to you for your wall
And I will take a
at your
video of
place of
me burning it on
employment.
a bonfire at the beach.
At your place of employment, so your coworkers can be like, "Why do you have weird like pratfall slash ejaculation humor posters on your wall?" And you can say, because I love Duck Patrol.
What I will say is this was sent to me by a lunatic fan of my podcast, and I am pressing charges. That's what I will say.
Oh, well, that's one hell of a next season. Okay. That is how the show fucking ends, folks. I don't know.
Yay, we're done. Duck Patrol is over. Woo. Okay. However, next week, oh, I should pull this up on my phone. So I am ready to talk about it. I am. However, I did get distracted very briefly by reading Buck Henry's New York Times obituary. Very funny. Next season, speaking of Buck Henry, we will be watching 1977's NBC sitcom, science fiction spoof sitcom Quark, starring Richard Benjamin, We will briefly see our friend Misty Rowe from
I'm looking at
the
that now.
Robin Hood
Yes.
one, um, and a bunch of other people I don't know. 30-minute science fiction spoof sitcom created and written by Buck Henry. And I love Buck Henry, and he died before anybody could say he was problematic. Um, so
Um,
yay.
that's called dying before we find out you're a
Yeah.
fucking
Yeah, which is
white
great.
supremacist. Yes. Or rapist. Uh, Richard Benjamin is still alive.
Oh,
Um, I do not see.
he looks like somebody. Who does he look like?
He looks like Richard
He
Benjamin,
looks like
dude.
Richard Benjamin. I know. He looks like somebody
Um,
else, though.
hey, his kids are graduates of Beverly Hills High School. Maybe
Oh.
you know them. Oh my God, he was in You People, that Jonah Hill.
Well, he's a bastard, so we don't
Was
talk about Jonah Hill. He sucks.
okay, but yes, so it's also Tim Thomerson, who I'm pretty sure is probably not a great guy, but I do like Tim Thomerson. So
Who was the guy from the 60s who was like a New York Times film reviewer who also was an actor? He kind of looks like him. Mm,
Plimpton? No, not Plimpton.
no, I can't. I'll find it and edit it in
Okay.
later.
So yes, so this is an infamous or even past infamous show. Like it is
Yeah.
actually officially available, I
Yeah.
believe. Yeah, it's had multiple home video
DVD
releases. Yeah,
releases. Yep.
we haven't
People
watched
like it.
any.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
I mean, Buck Henry's, what's that word I'm looking for? Oh God, we don't use it on this podcast very often. Is it?
Ubiquitous.
I was gonna say good. So there's that. Buck Henry's good. Like
Good.
Buck Henry does good. He does.
He did a lot of work with Elaine May and uh what's his name, who's not necessarily a good guy, Mike Nichols.
Mike Nichols was a bad guy.
He just had a bit of a attitude. He was not very nice. He was not very warm and fuzzy. Maybe treated women badly, but not in any like abusive sort of way. Just maybe was an asshole, you know?
But only to the women.
Yeah.
So like David O. Russell, suck up to the dudes, be shitty to the
But
girls.
Mike Nichols, huge comedy guy. But Buck Henry like wrote the screenplay for The Graduate, for example,
Yes.
and wrote the screenplay for some other terrible Mike Nichols movies. What's the dolphin one? Island of the Dolphin. He wrote the screenplay for that.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Yeah.
Holy shit, I want to watch that now. But Buck Henry, didn't Buck Henry write To Die For in 95? Like, I think he
Did he?
did. That's
He's great. I mean,
i.e. the only good Nicole Kidman because
he
she's in Evil
created
Dead.
Get Smart with Mel Brooks, which I love. Get Smart. Unfortunately, it's like 13 seasons, so we can't watch it for this show. Um, and he was on Saturday Night Live a lot. He was really good friends with the good Belushi, John's the good one. Good in that he was funny. He was also a bastard. Uh,
Jim Belushi might be okay. There was some hint he just grows pot, and he might have been
that's
supporting
fine.
Black Lives Matter. He's not a good
Actor,
actor.
comedian. Have you heard my favorite Andy Kindler joke?
I have not heard your favorite Andy Kindler joke.
Excuse me. I can't get the delivery. Obviously, I am no Andy Kindler. Who died and made Jim Belushi famous? It's a good joke.
You have told me that before, and that is a good
Yeah.
joke. Yes. So yes. So
we're gonna watch Quark for the next season.
Yeah,
I'm very excited.
This is actually are we looking forward to this?
I'm looking forward to it.
We're gonna this is
I'll give it a chance. I'll give it a shot.
I mean, we haven't seen it, so we don't know yet, but
right.
We've done 2 good shows. No, I mean, back when we started, we tried to be a little fancy about things, and then we lost that. But in recent memory, I feel like Police Squad, and Fishing with John.
Yeah.
We're actually
and then something like Freaks and Geeks was it's like
that's in the early day. Yeah.
when we tried to be fancier.
When we tried to be fancy. God, did we do two of those an episode? Remember when the show was like 6 hours long? Instead of struggling to get to 35 minutes. But maybe not this time because we didn't
This
talk
time.
about the show.
We didn't talk about the show a lot, but that's fine because, we are
And we
also
didn't
human
watch
beings.
two of the last episode or two of the last scenes. She missed both the final gags.
I missed out too. I feel really, really bad about it. I'll make it up to you, Andrew. I'm so sorry to disappoint you, Andrew. The last thing I want to do is disappoint a man. That's the last thing I ever want to do. I'm so sorry.
So apparently Emily's going to use the podcast as her practicing her tone switching for when she goes out in public into when she
Oh,
puts on her what do you put on in Handmaids?
I don't know. I've never seen it. I've never read it.
Yeah, I don't, you'll
Fuck those
probably have
guys.
to put on a like. I mean, you'll have to put on a. You have to cover up.
I am covered up. I'm cold. I think in Trump's America, you don't cover up.
It's so weird. I don't know. Do you want to
If
talk
you've
about
got
age
big
point
hot
Evelyn?
jugs like me, you don't cover those up. You get them out. Those luscious tits that I have, get them out for Trump.
Like Rudy Giuliani, dripping on him from his
Ugh,
head.
gross.
My God, can one of them just? I just want. That's what I want this year, folks. Is one of these pieces of shit to die, and then we're going to do an episode, and all I'm going to do is talk about what a piece of shit they are, and I will never know if Emily leaves it in. But
I'll probably just like take chunks out of other episodes and just make like a special episode.
okay, hopefully,
So
I
when I,
hope you.
you know,
I
when I
hope you
take
have to do that work.
when I take like a week off to like go help somebody get an abortion or do any of the things I need to do to feel like an active and productive human being in this hellscape that we are about to live in, then I'll just throw it in there.
Okay.
You talking about how you want people to die. I will also put your address and phone number in there
I
so then Secret Service can come find you.
Number one, at least somebody will be listening to the podcast. Number two, if those lists exist, we're on them already. Number three, there's another list we'll be on. Number four, there's another list we'll be on if they start making these lists. So that's a bunch of lists we've got that we're already going to be on. But I will clarify, I was not going to hope for the death of terrible people. I was going to celebrate it, which would require them dying, which would be great.
Do you remember when Reagan died? God, I had a big party. Anyway, Andrew, thank you for recommending we watch Duck Patrol.
It
Thank you
was
for
just
watching
for
it.
you. It was just for you.
I really appreciate it. I love David Tennant. He's such a cutie little patootie. Unfortunately, he was super annoying. Um,
You did
Thank
you
you for
you did like
watching,
Craig
folks.
Fairbass. You did like
I
that
did not.
business.
Thank
Uh-huh.
you, everybody else who may have watched the show or at least listened to me bitch about the show. Join us next week. We will talk about Quark. I'm so excited to talk about Quark, episode 1. Andrew, I'll see you in television land.
See you in television land, Emily. You need to get going.
Hi, it's Emily. I have been in the process of editing this podcast for the last 70 years. This last episode was so long and we talked so little about it. I just want to address something really quickly. I pulled out a huge chunk from the relatively beginning of the podcast, I think even like before we started talking about the episode, where we discovered one that Richard Wilson, Prof, is still alive. Um, I did a quick Google. As I do, we tend to use Brexit as sort of a um, guide to what type of politics our actors in England participate in. And I had mistakenly identified Richard Wilson as pro Brexit. Found some video that looked like it was pro Brexit. It was not. I watched the video immediately after recording and was like, oh shit. So I pulled that out. But there are huge swaths of time. Well, no, there are multiple times when Andrew is referring to Richard Wilson with a swastika tattoo. He is not, in fact, pro Brexit. He was not. The video, in fact, was the opposite. It was whatever. Point is, do your research. Not all things are black and white. And don't call people Nazis unless you know that they're Nazis, I guess. So I apologize for introducing that into our wonderful podcast. And Andrew apologizes for, oh, I can't apologize for Andrew, but I'm sure he does. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you guys next week. We'll be talking about quark. I'm actually really excited. I'm actually doing research, so that's weird. Okay, that's it. Love you. Bye.